Awesome. Well, hello everyone and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kara Becker and it is such a joy to be here with you tonight. This workshop has been in the works for a very long time, and I'm so excited for you to get to learn from Anna and for me to get to learn from Anna. She is a wealth of wisdom and knowledge. And tonight we're going to just kind of dust off our creativity and our imaginations a little bit, but we're going to kind of do that through the lens of prayer and through the lens of looking at what does it mean to be made in the image and likeness of God. And so I'm really excited for you to hear what Anna has to share tonight. So just a little bit about Anna. Anna is the author of the brand new book, Creative God, Awaken Your God-Given Imagination. She is a lover of words and of nature. She also teaches at Hope College in Michigan, and is the spiritual director. She's a trained spiritual director, and provides that service to many of our women here on the Live Today Well team, as well as to many of you in the wider community. She is a wife and a mom to teenage triplets. And though she calls herself an introvert, don't let her fool you, because she is one of the most engaging and just thoughtful friends and people I've ever met. So I would like to just go ahead and turn it over to Anna.
Thank you so much, Kara. My goodness. I am hoping that my voice holds out. I just told Kara I came straight from the regional track meet that my daughters are running in. Literally, actually one might still be running right now. So I did all my mom screaming and then drove home, and I'm trying to so I'm gonna make it. It'll be just fine. It'll be fine. So we are going to open tonight with a prayer, and I love Fran Pratt. Are any of you familiar with Fran Pratt's litanies? If this is your first workshop with me, you definitely want to have a pencil handy for the books that I'm about to shout out to you. If you've done this with me before, I see you and I know you're already ready to write this down. But Fran Pratt has written some beautiful litanies, and this book is called Call and Response, Litanies for Congregational Prayer. And believe it or not, she actually has a litany for imagination. And so I thought this would be the perfect way for us to gather and begin tonight. So why don't we, since it's a little awkward when you try to do call and response on Zoom because of the delays. So if you are willing to just keep yourselves on mute, but read every other line with me, I think that would be beautiful. I will read the whole thing, but I would love to have you join in on the opposite line. That would be beautiful as we begin tonight. God, we are made by you, imagined by you, formed in your image, created by your love. We often forget that we are creatures of imaginative potential, of creativity, that our imaginations, like yours, can be generative and life-giving, useful to your kingdom. But we often forget that our assumptions about you are limited by our experience here, by words on a page, by culture and tradition, by our ego, by our smallness. But with these starting points and with imagination, we can let go of assuming
Her
and
audio
move
keeps going out.
closer to you. We struggle because we only know things that you are like water, like bread, like wind, like a parent, like a king. But we know that these are incomplete comparisons. Nothing we know can define you. We pause now and open our minds to the fullness of God, of which we can contain only a little at a time, a portion that gives us life and makes us hungry and thirsty for more, fueling our imaginations. This is what we ask for, to be able to move past what we can see, feel, taste, touch, and hear with our mortal bodies toward a new horizon, a new reality, a kingdom you are imagining and inviting us to imagine and embody. Amen. So, what I am really excited to talk to you about tonight, and I'm not going to be talking the whole time, not only because I have mom track meet voice, but because we are actually going to make a mess and get creative and play a little bit together tonight. Kara, do you want to tell everybody that what that lovely cocktail is before we get started?
Absolutely. So I believe you all probably received in your emails a recipe for a creation cocktail. So that is what I am drinking tonight. I don't know if you all can see me. This is the creation cocktail a la Becker. Because it was not made to the exact specifications, but it's pretty doggone fantastic. I made it with local strawberries from the farm that's like a mile from my house, and fresh basil, and I am obsessed with it. So I hope that all of you have a drink tonight to enjoy and to cozy up with as Anna guides us. But if you did not get a chance to create your own creation cocktail, I encourage you to give it a try because it is pretty fantastic. Let me tell you that.
Should have left the meat just a little bit earlier so I could have made mine. Just pass it over here. Does it work like that?
There you go.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, what I want us to think about tonight when we get started is I want us to think about how we see ourselves. And one of the things that I hear a lot from adults is that I just don't see myself as a creative. I'm not a creative person. And what I really want to focus in on is that first. And that is, I just don't see myself as creative. And thinking about the ways that we see ourselves as opposed to the way God sees us. And so one of the things that was a main point and is a main point that'll carry you through all of Creative God and our conversation tonight is thinking about the fact that even if we don't see ourselves as creative, we are made in the image of a creative God. And so I'm going to share with you some words from early in the intro of Creative God. And this is where we are thinking about being made in the image of God. And again, we're keeping this in mind as we think about this line, I just don't see myself as a creative. As Christians, we believe that we are the imago Dei, the image of God. Therefore, within each person lies a reflection of the same imaginative creator, the image of God, the creator. Each and every one of us has this part of our identity from childhood, which I think most of us would say that we see, right? Creativity in children, but not just. So it says from childhood to adulthood, from birth until death. Whether you are a teenager or a busy mom, a retired engineer or a first-year teacher, within you lies this same creative gift. You are created in the image of God, the Creator. Therefore, you are a creator. You are a creator, but does that always mean that's how you see yourself? And it's interesting because if you continued reading early in Creative God on the page 16 and into 17, there is actually science to support the way God made our bodies. And research studies have been done that show blood flow. I am not drinking the cocktail at all, but I still can't talk. Blood flow to your brain. So get ready, we're going sciencey now. Now Kara's taking a big drink when we get sciencey here. Blood flow in your brain. We see more parts that are engaged when we are doing art-related activities. So anything from doodling to free drawing. These results in this beautiful study found that all of the art-related activities showed increased blood flow to the medial prefrontal cortex. There will be a quiz at the end, so be sure you're writing that down. The brain's reward center. So this is the brain's reward center. It lights up. More blood flow goes to that area when we are doing art-related activities, when we're doodling or coloring or drawing. It does not say that we need to be creating Instagram-worthy, Etsy shop, saleable, beautiful acrylic paintings. That is not what the study says. It says activities range from doodling to free drawing, all different types of art-related activities. We see an increase in those areas of blood flow. Our bodies are made by our Creator to respond in a positive way when we create. God knew what he was doing. That's exactly how he intended that. And science backs it up for us. So again, we are made to create. We're made in the image of a creative God, but we don't see ourselves that way. So let's stop for a second on that word see. And I want you to think about right now, what does it feel like to be truly seen? Truly seen for who we really are. If you have a journal or something in front of you, or if you have your paper that you're going to do our project on in a minute, you could flip it over. You're welcome to just jot down a few notes about what it feels like to be truly seen, to be seen by others in the way God sees us. Think about those two questions for just a minute. So we'll go back to this journaling in just a second, so you don't have to completely end your thought. But I do want you to know kind of where we're going. I want you to think about, in order for us to really start to see how we see ourselves, how we are made by God, I want us to spend a few minutes thinking about what this feels like, and also how we see others and what that need is. Because I think sometimes, and I don't know if we're all women here, there might be some guys in here too, but I do think that mainly, I would say for women, it's really hard for us to think about or even have a really big conversation about how we see ourselves. But we are definitely able to think about how others are seen or how we see others. And so we're going to kind of tie these things together through some of our thoughts tonight. So I want to tell you a story, and it's actually a two-part story, and it happened to me recently in April, actually, when I was serving at our local community kitchen in our town. And my daughter needed volunteer hours for National Honor Society. And so she started volunteering at the community kitchen every Sunday. And I had volunteered there at one point during the pandemic and hadn't been doing it as much this year. And so she called me out like a beautiful 18-year-old would do, right? And said, "Mom, why aren't you serving at the community kitchen?" And I was like, "Well, I'm doing this work for Live Today Well, I'm doing some spiritual direction. Like, I kind of feel like that's where and she was like, "You can't do both?" So that's how I found myself at the community kitchen on several Sundays in April with my daughter. At our community kitchen, we have beautiful tables set up, and they serve meals 7 days a week for anyone who would like to come in and receive a meal for free. Mainly the people that we serve there don't have a consistent place for housing. Many of them are sleeping in tent cities. And I was shocked to learn not too long ago that we have tent cities in our little small town in Michigan. And most of the people bike to the community kitchen, and they enjoy phenomenal food. On Easter, we had 2 types of crepes that we served, like gourmet food. They get beautiful meals, and they can bring some food with them when they leave as well. So I was serving behind the counter that morning, and a man walked up to the counter to receive his meal, and he had a fluorescent pink stocking cap on because it was still cold in Michigan. April's basically still winter. And he had fluorescent pink nail polish on his nails. And it was amazing, like 80s fluorescent pink, amazing. And so when he came up to the counter, I complimented him on the nail polish color. I thought it was beautiful. And that was really all I said, is that I just really like that color. And he continued through the kitchen and sat down at the table. A little while later, he came back up to the line where I was serving, and he was standing off to the side and motioning for me to come over to him. And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out this pink nail polish and he handed it to me. And he said, "You have no idea what it felt like to be seen and not judged, to be truly seen. And I want to thank you. And I think I'm starting a job tomorrow at a place that won't let me paint my nails. And so I want you to have this color." So I hugged him and I took the fluorescent pink nail polish and put it in my pocket and went home. A couple weeks later, when I went back, I was excited to check in and see how his new job had gone, and how that was unfolding for him. And when he came in that day, he looked beat down, like just wiped out, exhausted. There was no fluorescent pink hat on his head, and there was definitely no smile. He stayed very low to the table while he was eating and often was just resting his head on the table. I went over to sit with him a little bit, and this was actually Easter Sunday. I went over to sit with him to see if I could get him to talk at all. And he was just heartbroken. There had been an incident that took place at the mission where he was bullied for things that I can only imagine. He didn't tell me the whole story, and he was kicked out. Because he was kicked out, he didn't get to start that job that next day, and then also had no place to sleep. But one of the things that he was saying, with his head literally laying on the table, was that when he walks down the street in our small town in Michigan, it's like he's not even there. He said, I walk past people and I smile and I say hello, and it's like they don't even see me. And he just kept repeating over and over, I'm a human being and they don't see me, over and over. So those conversations with this amazing human being made me really spend some time thinking about who we see and how we see them, and what it would feel like to feel invisible, to smile and say hello to people and not get an opportunity to feel seen at all. And I couldn't shake the words, and these meetings happened 2 weeks apart. I couldn't shake the number of times that he talked about being seen. And that the first interaction we had, when he handed me this beautiful bottle of nail polish, that he was thanking me for seeing him and not judging him. And then 2 weeks later, that was still on his mind. So after this story, I want you to spend just a couple more minutes with that journaling that you might have started. And the question, what does it feel like to be truly seen? Thinking about how my friend felt to not be seen at all, in contrast to what it feels like to be truly seen. So now that we've reflected for a little while about this notion of being seen, and we can think as humans that we are imperfect at seeing others, right? And I hope that part of what you walk away with tonight is a refreshed, renewed reminder of our call to see others and to truly, truly see them, and to just kind of be on the lookout, sort of as a shout out of solidarity for this wonderful human in my town. But when we think about being seen and being seen truly for who we are, the one who does this perfectly is God. God sees us 100% for who we are every time we walk past him on the street, whether we're smiling or not, right? He sees us and doesn't judge us. So I want you to just think for just a minute about how God sees you. Now, if I did a roll call right down the screen, I'm not going to, don't panic. My introvert's just almost passed out. I'm not going to, I see you, Mary Beth. I'm not coming for you. Don't worry. Okay, if hypothetically, the woman, I do not want you to have your baby early. I got to stay calm. I'm going to keep you calm. I'm sorry. Okay, hypothetically, if I did a roll call right down the screen, and asked you all to share with us, well, this is like an introvert's nightmare, I'm panicking, to share with us how God sees you, I would argue that you would struggle a little bit. And you would trip over your words a little bit, and you might just toss one or two things out there. But for those of us in this grid who know each other in some way, shape, or form, we might have more to say, right? Like I would want to turn my mic on and say, I can tell you how God sees my sister Laura, or Adrian, or Mary Beth, or Kayla, or Kara, or I mean, there's Maureen. There's so many of you that I could say that, and you might click the screen on and do that for someone else. But I have a feeling it would be much harder for you to tell me how God sees you. Author Leanna Tankersley, and if you haven't read her book Brazen, there you go again, another book recommendations for you. I don't have it in front of me though, I'm sorry. Brazen by Leanna Tankersley. Not only does she have like very cool tattoos, but she is very awesome writer. But she talks about this notion of soul bullies. And she speaks especially to her own experience that even during prayer time, or when we're just doing kind of a free write, or writing down ideas or thoughts, we are very quick to shut those down before they even hit the paper. If I told you to just write 5 like really awesome ideas that come across your mind right now, some of you might be able to do it, but some of you would start, those soul bullies would step in and they would be like, that is such a stupid idea. Or you don't have time to do that. Or where are you going to get the supplies to do that? Those soul bullies are real. And I think that those soul bullies would have something to say when you started making me a beautiful list of how God sees you. Because those soul bullies will say things like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't see you like that. Why would he see you like that? So I want us to be aware of those soul bullies for the rest of our time. I want you to notice them and shut them down, because they are not invited to the second half hour of this talk. They're not invited into our creative space. They don't get to be here because we are made in the image of God, and God really does see us in the way he made us. So he's not going to let them in either. So be aware of them and exclude them from this time. Be aware of them. They're going to pop up and you're going to shut them down. I have faith in you. So now we're going to make a mess and we're going to have fun. So one of the things that, or a couple of the supplies that we hope you have handy with you, and this can look so different depending on what you have. So I have a sheet of paper, could be any size. Sometimes I get intimidated. This is true speak here. Sometimes I get intimidated by large papers. Like people always say to me, why don't you paint larger? Oh gosh, no, like I would prefer to paint smaller. Legitimately, this is one size of paint paper that I have. This makes me feel very comfortable, this nice little size. But so if your paper's little, or if you're very overwhelmed by your big paper, just rip it in half. So piece of paper, this is a very messy workstation. Some kind of newspaper or magazine handy. You can also have a pencil and a Sharpie if you like. You don't have to have either of those things. Crayons are fine. That's great. So in that, I lost my prompt. There we go. I found it. Okay. So what you are going to do without filter and without any kind of mask that you put on, I want you to collage an image of what you look like to God. Collage an image of what you look like to God. The you that is truly created in his image. Couple of things. You're welcome to draw an outline first. And you can do just a head and shoulders. You can do a whole body, just a very random, like loose outline. You can outline nothing at all and just see how that shape takes form on your paper. The beauty of this type of art is it's very low risk, right? You get to rip papers and glue them down. I hope that glue stick or something was on there that I skipped over, but you can just rip and glue. It doesn't require drawing skills. It doesn't require painting skills. This is very low pressure. And so it should hopefully feel safe to you. This is also not the kind of workshop, and it's probably because I'm an introvert, but it's not the kind of workshop where we're going to do a show and tell at the end. Everybody share and everybody talk about their creation and how this is you. That doesn't feel right to me for this. It rarely feels right to me because I'm an introvert, but it doesn't feel right to me specifically in this type of a situation because this is a brave creation that you're doing. This is a without mask, without soul bullies creation, which feels tender, right? And this is us really allowing ourselves to think about how God sees us, how we are made in his beautiful, creative image. So I'm going to give you some time now to create. And this is your time and your space, and we're all going to be here creating together. You're welcome to turn your camera off if you would like to, but you can also leave it on. I'll probably just mute myself and leave my camera on. And this is your time to play. When I did this activity before, I was drawn to some things from the magazine that were, images of nature. I love words, so words always end up in a collage. You can collage the whole face, or you could draw an eye and collage the other eye. You can do this as abstract or as realistic as you want. This is yours. How does God see you as you're created in his image?
Anna, can you just let us know about how long we will have to do this?
That's a lovely question, Kara. What do you think? 10 minutes? 15?
10 to 15.
Okay. You'll have 10 to 15 minutes to do this.
about 2 minutes to go ahead and wrap up.
All right. Find a place where you can softly land with what you were doing. One of the things in Creative God, well, in the field of psychology, that's also in the book Creative God, is this notion of flow. And that is an actual principle that we find when we are doing something that we love, where we literally just lose track of time. And when Kara gave the 2-minute warning, it was all I could do not to like whip my head up and look around because I couldn't figure out where the voice was coming in my studio. Like I was so intently focused, and I'm supposed to be able to talk afterwards. So that was flow for me. And so I hope that you got a little glimpse of what that can feel like when you get into that kind of mode. So we don't have a ton of time. I want to be really respectful. But if you are, it might be easiest just to open the chat box. And if you have a few words that you would be willing to share to describe what this experience was like for you, I would love to see that. And we can kind of get a feel for what this was like for you. Life-giving, validating, and freeing, emotional, engaging, challenging, stretching, fun and playful, yet introspective, like a deep breath for your spirit, joyful. Wow, I think a lot of those words would be words that God would use to describe all of you. Isn't that interesting? Challenging but joyful. Oh, he definitely would use those words to describe me. That was perfect timing, Lindsay. Thanks. He's like, oh, she's challenging. Oh my goodness. So I also found this activity to be challenging and beautiful also. And it's really, it's I had a thought like, oh, I love how this is looking. Like, I'm going to show people, or I'm going to put this on Instagram. And I think that is one of the things that society does to us, right? That makes us feel like in order to have this creation and this vision of ourselves be valid, we have to show it and we have to get validation. And we're going to keep all of these flat on the table because they are just for our eyes and God, right? And this, we don't need that external validation. And in creating, you don't need that either. And I think the way society tells us we have to have our creativity be Pinterest ready is one of the key things that keeps us from living into the way God truly sees us. So I would love for you to, on your own, maybe this weekend, finish that collage. And something that I love, I don't have it down here, something I love to do when I do collages like this is I like to put it right into my journal. So if you were brave and used the full paper, you could put it, fold it in half. I ripped mine in half because I told you I don't like big papers. So it can go right in my journal. And then you could even journal about that image and include some words that you would use to describe how God sees you. And I want you to go back to this. And I want you to think about the times when the soul bullies creep in and the times when you tell yourself you're not creative or you can't create for this reason or another. And I want you to listen and realize that that is because you can't see yourself the way God sees you. And that is in his image as a creator. Take it away, Kara.
I couldn't unmute myself. I'm so sorry. So I love all of that. And I think you've given us a lot of really beautiful things to think of, Anna, as we move forward and to reflect on, and to really just take to prayer. As I've been sitting here working on my collage, I found myself getting very strangely emotional. I'm an emotional, passionate person anyway, so I guess it's not that strange, but I did not expect for this activity to impact me the way that it did. But one of the things that worked its way into my collage was a lot of words. And I came across these words that I wanted to share with you all because I think that they also apply to each one of you, which is distinct by design, because each one of us is distinct by design. We are created that way by God, yet we each reflect such a beautiful and rich and complex aspect of him. I think of it much like if you've ever seen like the whole color wheel, or like if you ever go to input like an HTML code and there's like 50,000 colors. And you look at that is each one of us. And yet we each reflect such a unique aspect of God. So I just wanted to leave you with that bit of encouragement, whether this activity left you feeling inspired or left you feeling frustrated. I want you to hopefully take that little bit away, that you are distinct by design and have such a wonderfully rich complexity within you. And that hopefully that will continue to pour out no matter how you create and no matter how you seek to love well those around you. So I think Anna's given us a lot of great things to think about. So as we look forward, where do we go from here? I think the first place we go from here is to delve further into scripture, to see the words that God has for us about who we are, and to rest with him in prayer, and to take these collages to prayer with him and say, Lord, like, continue to reveal my true self, the depths of who I am to me, because he's the only one who knows that. And I would say too, if you want a little bit more practical step-by-step of guide as you continue to move through this journey of self-discovery as a creator made in God's image, I just sent out to some of you, and I will be sending out to the rest of the email list later this week, a free chapter of Creative God And by a free chapter, I mean a day of it, called Embrace Color Play. And I would encourage you to start there, to let your creativity pour forth from there. And then beyond there, if you would like additional like support and encouragement and inspiration, Anna's new book, Creative God, is absolutely gorgeous and such a gift. I honestly get teary-eyed as I work through my copy and like just want to like mark up everything. It's one of those books where you want to underline or highlight every word, because it is such an encouragement and such an affirmation of your identity in God and of how he has given you these gifts and talents to create, and that how, what does that look like beyond physical artwork, whether that's collage or painting or whatever, but what does that look like in the rest of your life, in your discernment process, in your prayer, in your interactions with people at the grocery store and in your home or on your campus or wherever you find yourself, whatever season of life. How is he meeting you there in your creativity and in how you seek to love others in your unique, distinct by design way? So we have copies of Creative God available on our website. But it's just, for me, it's been a joy and a blessing to get to collaborate on this project with Anna and with Mary Williams, who designed the interior of the book. And I just wanted to mention that as an added encouragement for you all, if you already have your copy, to take that plunge and to dive in this week to prioritize that time, because I know firsthand as a busy woman how easy it is to like push aside that urge to rest with God or to create. So I just want to say I'm there with you, and let's keep persevering and carving out that time and space for the Holy Spirit to move in our lives and in our hearts. And as we move into the weekend ahead and in the months ahead, this is our prayer for you, Anna's and mine, and really the prayer of everyone on the Live Today Well team. Just, we pray that you may rest in God's presence and uncover the creative that he made you to be. I want to also thank all of you for being here tonight, and thank Anna for this amazing workshop, and for just pouring so beautifully and so richly into each one of us. I'm going to go ahead and ask Anna to lead us in our closing prayer.
Thank you, Kara. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Creator God, I am made in your image. Help me to uncover the creative identity that you placed within me. Illuminate the parts of myself that I have buried over the years, and fill me with the joy that you feel when you create. In all that I do, help me to bring glory to you. Amen.
Awesome. Thank you again so much, Anna. Anna, if you have a few minutes to hang out, if anyone has questions, I'm going to turn off the recording and you can feel free to stay and chat with Anna and I. If you need to go, that's perfectly fine as well. But we'd love to stay in touch with you. You can connect with Anna on Instagram at Anna Bonnema. And I put our website address and my email up on here as well, if you would like to reach out that way. Yeah, thank you all so much for being here. We'll be continuing to hold you in prayer. Yeah, I'm going to turn off the recording now. If you need to go, feel free. If you have questions or want to chat, feel free to stick around. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Anna? Burning thoughts, insights?
Hi, friends.
Just want to say congratulations.
Thank you, Maureen.